Gather around. It's time for the show to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, this is...
Hey everyone, my name is Jason.
Hi friends, it's Desiree Josen.
All right, there were so many matches this year that were just too much.
So this won't be a shocker because we've had a handful of really awesome matches that we just can't stop talking about.
How many times have these guys fought? Like it's been quite a bit.
I've been saying this all year. They're just so great to watch. We saw the heel turn coming, and then when it happened, nice and bloody, both dramatic and beautiful.
You are now entering the ring with Chutes and Ladders podcast. Here are your hosts, Desiree and Jason.
Chutes and Ladders, Night of Champion countdown list. What's going on, everyone? My name is Jason.
Hey friends, it's Desiree Josen.
All right, we're counting down the greatest Night of Champions moments of all time. Des, before we get started, what are your initial thoughts on this list?
I'm going to be brutally honest. I'm not a big fan of Night of Champions. And I kind of struggled putting this list together because I wasn't such a big super fan of this main event. Then I just didn't follow a lot. But it was nice to go through and see some really cool matches that I did not realize, or I kind of forgot about, that was part of this. So it was kind of eye-opening to be a little bit nicer about Night of Champions.
So my thoughts exactly. There's some matches that I genuinely forgot about. So once we were coming up with these lists, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And that actually, it really just struck up some really cool moments. So this is going to be fun to see who your top five is. That being said, who's your number five?
Well, my number five is 2013. This one was with the title match between Daniel Bryan and Mr. Randy Orton. And this is where the ref fast counted, and that damn Daniel Bryan won the title from Randy, and we know exactly what that ref did because that was the quickest count I've ever seen. So shame on you. And also it was that fun triple threat match with Paul Heyman, Curtis Axel, and Punk, and that's when Ryback came in and interfered and put them through the table, and then Paul Heyman won. What? So yeah, that's my number five.
Awesome. That's actually on my list as well. No surprise there. My number five is 2015. Seth Rollins versus Sting. This is insane. Rollins defends both his WWE and US titles in the same night. It's Sting's final WWE match and ends a gutsy performance despite his injury. I was just blown away. I honestly forgot that Sting was a part of this PLE, so I had to be on this countdown.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, I know. All right, that being said, who's your number four?
2009. Yeah, so this one was the big match between Jeff Hardy and CM Punk. But the other one that I really remembered was the triple threat match between Randy, Cena, and Triple H. And then that's where both Cena and Triple H, I think, had Randy tap out, but the ref couldn't remember or couldn't determine who was the winner. And then Cody and Ted DiBiase Jr. came out because that was when we were doing Legacy, and interfered, and then Randy ended up winning. So all was well in the world. So, and that 2009 was when Psychopath Randy, like shaved head Randy, was there. So it was great.
That's awesome. Funny enough, that's my number four as well. So everything that you just mentioned, it was great. I got just overall, I thought it was really cool. And it's funny just to kind of reminisce about some of these things, because some of these angles and storylines and even character changes you kind of forget about. So that's what makes it kind of special.
Yeah.
All right. Who's your number three?
2010. So that one was a little different, but the one match that I do remember of this was Kane versus Undertaker, and it was like a no holds barred match. And I just remember the finisher where Taker went in to tombstone Kane, but he countered that tombstone into his own tombstone. and Tombstone Taker and retain, which was crazy. And then there was also something that I just remember, and when you talk about old characters and the evolution of them, and granted, this was like 10, 15 years ago of this. Cody and Drew McIntyre tagged, and Drew had no facial hair, and he was probably about 50 pounds lighter. So he looked like a completely different person. So that's insane. And then there was a 6-man elimination match. And then, of course, my man Randy won. So are we seeing a theme of, I just realized that Randy's in everything.
No surprise there. And no surprise to any of our loyal listeners for sure. All right.
What's your number 3?
My number 3, 2012.
Okay.
And what really stood out about this, John Cena versus CM Punk. I mean, it was a 25-minute match. It had a controversial double pin finish.
Yes.
It was great storytelling. I have to say, I mean, it seems like anytime John Cena faces CM Punk, it's just a classic PLE. I've been on record of saying that Money in the Bank 2011 is one of the greatest PLEs of all time. So whenever these two guys get together, they're fireworks for sure.
Magic.
All right, we're getting down to it. Who's your number 2?
2012.
Okay. Awesome. See, I have good taste.
Yes, it's for the same exact thing. It was the CM Punk and Cena match. Like you said, it's complete magic. And what's great is we're going to see them at the next Night of Champions. So this one will be really great to see. Obviously they're a little bit more mature, but that doesn't mean that they, I feel like they're just going to have really great chemistry together. So this will be fun. But yes, it's going to be 2012. And then also Randy versus Dolph. So to keep into, my Randy marathon here.
Yeah, of course. I wouldn't expect anything less. All right, my number 2, 2008.
Okay.
And you already, I'd be shocked if this wasn't on your list, but Triple H versus Shawn Michaels. I mean, this is one of the more underrated matches of theirs, full of emotion, a lot of callbacks to the legendary rivalry. This was a lot of fun, and honestly, I completely forgot that this was at Night of Champions. So it's just, talk about just going back and just being blown away, like, oh my gosh, I forgot about that. But yeah, I mean, these two guys are best friends, obviously, but when they get in the ring together, it's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Who's your number 1?
It's going to be 2014.
Ooh, okay.
That one, I feel like it was just because it was overall pretty damn good. Like the match card was pretty packed and there were some really fun surprises there. So there was a tag title match with the Usos versus Goldust and Stardust, which was always fun to see. Now that, of course, Cody is completely different. And then obviously it was Randy versus Jericho. So I had to throw that in there. But also it was where Seth and Roman were supposed to go against each other, but Roman had to have surgery, and then Dean Ambrose came in. And then that was a nice surprise. But also it was the big match between Cena and Brock Lesnar. And that's when Seth he did interfere and cause a disqualification. But then he also tried to cash in on Cena, and then it just didn't work, and it just blew up in his face. So I just felt like that was the overall best PLE for Night of Champions.
Good choice, for sure. Mine has a little bit similarities. So mine's 2013. And one thing that really stood out, the Shield, Rollins and Reigns versus Cody and Goldust. And talk about emotional storytelling at its finest. The Rhodes family fights for their careers and gets one of the loudest pops of the night in a really good feel-good win. I thought that really just kind of just stood out. And it's so funny to fast forward, 10 plus years later, Cody fights Roman at WrestleMania, one of the best matches I've ever seen. Yeah. So it's again, one of the things that I kind of didn't necessarily know going into this countdown was, man, there's been so many evolution of characters from all these, from all these different years, and know some who these characters are now. But you know what? Night of Champions has actually produced some great matches. That's for sure.
It's crazy to see that this was 15 years ago, roughly. And we're still seeing these guys today at the
Ah.
top of their game. They are like the top stars right now that we're still rooting for. And to think that they were getting big pops then and they were still young, and I laugh because I'm like, look at these young boys, and they're fresh of only like 5 years experience, and then now we still can't get enough of them. I think that's crazy with the longevity of their careers.
Absolutely. I mean, what a countdown. What a stroll down memory lane. Des, what are your final thoughts on these Night of Champion moments?
It's kind of made me a little bit softer and a little bit nicer about this, because when we first did this, I was like, I don't like this. But now I'm like, I actually, you know what? Give them a break. It was really good stuff. And like you said, it's a nice stroll down memory lane. So, and plus, all of these guys, or a majority of them, are going to be in this weekend's Night of Champions. So it's good to see some familiar faces. So it's going to be good.
I totally agree with you. All right, that wraps up this episode. Now it's your turn. Send us your Night of Champions countdown and thoughts. Please DM us at the Chutes and Ladders. Like always, please like, share, and subscribe both on YouTube and Spotify. Once again, my name is Jason.
I'm Desiree Josen.
All right, until next time, have a blessed day and a blessed week.
Bye, friends.
This has been Chutes and Ladders. Follow us for more content.